Hey, what's up, my beautiful people? This is Aston Williams coming to you again with another amazing episode of the Melanated Traveler Podcast. A podcast and a platform where we promote Black travel. We share tips, we share stories. We have amazing guests that come on that helps you navigate the world. And we trying to connect just the diaspora all around the world and also other people, other ethnicities, right? To be able to navigate to some of these destinations that are uncharted, that people don't really think about, or places that you may think about, but maybe you don't have the right information. You are definitely in the right place, and I have an amazing guest today. I have Lynett Nakamanya, aka Lynett Lux Travels, right? So just to give you a quick introduction on Lynett is, she's a travel expert. She has over close to almost 11 years of travel experience in Africa, and she has a passion for promoting the continent of Africa, and we'll get into her country and other countries that y'all can experience. But it's very important for us, especially being that it's Black History Month here in America, to be able to connect with the motherland, to be able to return home, right? And I just want to give a quick little synopsis. If you don't know where you come from, you can always check out African Ancestry. African Ancestry is a platform, and it's a business where you can go ahead on and get your DNA, and your DNA can either tell you what tribe that you come from Africa. I think that's very important as well. So back to Lynett. Lynett, she provides just informative information about Africa, breaking the myth that it's expensive to go to Africa. We're going to talk about that as well. And just some amazing destinations that you need to go to. So without further ado, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Very excited to interact with your audience and share more, share the tips, the tricks, the ideas, the thoughts, and, just provoke the sense and desire to travel in and around Africa.
Hey, perfect. So let's just dive into it. Let's just start off with this question. My first question was going to be the why question, but let's just start off where you come from. Where are you from? What country are you from in Africa?
I'm from Uganda, which is in East Africa.
Okay, gotcha. So let's dive into that a little bit. So like let's start off everything. If y'all guys already know me, I always start off with the why. Being that you're from Uganda, what made you inspired to get into the travel industry, to get into tourism, to want to be an advocate of people not only in your country but other people that's within the continent of Africa, and also what I would call the other diaspora around the world, to want to travel to Africa? What based on your childhood, based on the pride of your country, the culture of your country, makes you want to promote people to come to Africa?
So, like you shared, I've been in the tourism industry for the last 10 plus years. Joining the industry, it was out of passion. I joined when I was just out of high school, started working as I applied for college, then I got into university, did tourism, but while working all along. And for me, it's more of a passion because I started working even before I joined college. So as I joined university, I was basically just looking at everything that we had in the classes was making sense. Because as I was taking tourists around, because I began as a tourist guide at a particular site in Kampala, everything made sense, the tourism experience. But as I spent time in the industry, I realized there was a vacuum, or there was something which was not clicking right, And just during COVID, that's when I did more research in this particular topic, where I noticed that people of color, people who look like me, were not traveling as much. So because I come from Uganda, East Africa, a tourist ideally is someone of a different skin color. It is that plain and simple. And I wondered, okay, there are people in the diaspora, African Americans, Caribbeans, and from all these parts of the world who travel. Why are they not traveling in and around Africa? Because even when I did work in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, in Botswana, Tanzania, still the number of people with my skin color traveling was, let's say 1%, if any, it was 1%. of the whole tourism population. And yet, I feel so Africa has a lot to offer in terms of the authentic experiences. And once people of color come into Africa as travelers, it not only changes the landscape of how Africans view who a tourist is, because ideally we assume a tourist has to be of a different foreign or a different skin color. So here we have someone of color coming to tour and enjoy Africa. That alone psychologically changes how we see ourselves. So our value increases psychologically as individuals. But then also the experience I feel the person of color gets once they're here, seeing people that look like them, that sometimes even talk like them, that do some things the way they do. Like before we started the podcast, you talked about some of the foods you eat, and they're basically African cuisines. So once someone comes to Africa and maybe they're doing yes a safari, the normal safari experience, but then they have community experiences, they have market visits, all these things which they can incorporate in their safaris that I actually push for in most of the safaris that I do. They get to meet the people, to understand the why. Why do people cook food this way? Why did women do these particular practices before? Why did men do this? How was the society built? All this helps us appreciate each other's diversity, but then I'm sure it can also help people, better understand themselves, mainly people of color, once they travel in and around Africa. So I believe traveling is not only for fun, but can be a really fulfilling and rewarding experience, mainly for people of color once they travel in and around Africa. Because even I, when I travel to other countries within Africa, I feel the experience I get is much more fulfilling than if I travel to some countries that I've been to in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And yeah, we're gonna dive into it just a little bit for those that don't know. So we talked offline before we got into the studio, and I was telling her, I'm from Louisiana and I grew up on eating okra. I grew up on eating, turkey neck, smothered turkey neck, anything that's smothered. Dishes with a lot of tomatoes in it. I grew up eating pig feet. I grew up eating chicken feet. I grew up eating, so and we talked about cultural dances as well. Like being from Louisiana, we have something called New Orleans bounce. And if anybody knows anything about Louisiana and New Orleans, we have a square called Congo Square. Unfortunately, that square was mostly descendants of Congo, Congolese, descendants that were sold as slaves, in the middle of the city. But we took those times of oppression and turned it into a cultural, Louisiana, especially New Orleans, is a cultural destination when it comes to food, when it comes to just culture in general, when it comes to art. So I do take pride in that part of my history. I take pride in it because it's just a mixture of so many different cultures, and it's amazing how we have so many similarities that we just don't know about.
Yes. And that's where travel comes in. The more we travel, it opens our eyes to, first of all, the similarities we have, broadness of the world around us, because the image of Africa that's portrayed out there is definitely not what's on ground, not at all. Of course, some things are still challenging, infrastructure here and there, you know, you know, political instabilities here and there, but it's not so different from what's in other countries. It's just that the form of marketing that we use is not very to our benefit. Can I just say that? Because all the beauty is hardly marketed that much. I put some videos out on my YouTube channel where I've traveled around Uganda, but the places that are in and around Uganda, the foods, the ambience, the weather, the different things that we have are not talked about that much. And yet, when someone comes, they'll be literally blown away. It's something that is worth experiencing, and yet very few people know that it's actually there.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I want to dive into. I want to talk about other countries within it, but I gotta dive
Yes,
into your home country first, of Uganda.
yes.
I'm very interested to know some more similarities. I'm very interested to know in like your culture. What are some like significant festivals within your country that people should be interested in coming to during those times? Any type of significant holidays or festivals that people should, you know?
We don't have very many particular festivals, and even the festivals or the activities we celebrate culturally are not on particular days. Now we have the circumcision ceremony, which is called the Embalu, where a particular tribe gathers all the young men who are not yet circumcised. Usually, it's a path of way to manhood. So they gather them around, they do a whole festival, but it's there usually once a year in November. So it's a whole week celebration where they go dancing, drinking, and then at the end of the ceremony, the young men will be circumcised. But then even our marriage ceremonies are very cultural and interesting, you know. I come from the central region where we have a king. He's a king of Uganda. So usually during the king's birthday, it's a big celebration in the kingdom. You know, during the coronation ceremony, it's also a big celebration. But we don't have very many particular cultural festivals that go on. You know, but we have so many community villages where the culture has been preserved, you know, and people who come into the country can experience some of the activities like the cooking classes, you know, they can learn the weaving, the different experiences that the authentic African Baganda woman went through. So we still have that where someone can come and experience the full day's experience of being maybe a Muganda or being from a particular tribe and even eating the foods. And they're trained on how the foods are prepared, why people eat different foods. You know, so we have all those different things, the cultural dances, the culture wears. Clients can experience all that.
Gotcha. What's the name of some of the cultural dances in Uganda? So like I'll give you an example. Like I said, back home we have a specific dance. New Orleans bounce has to have a drum in it. It has multiple levels of
Yes.
drums, and the
Yeah, we
way
have.
men and women dance to that music is to move their hips very rapidly, their shoulders very rapidly,
Yes.
the backside very rapidly. What's some of the name of some of the cultural dances in your country?
Yes, that is exactly what we do, you know, because first of all, my country has over 50 tribes. So every tribe has something different in their dances, you know. So for my tribe, the women basically move mainly the west and the backside, you know, the behind, they just move the behind, while the men do the drumming. So we have different types of drums. We have the long drum, we have the short round drum, you know. So all the drums produce different rhythms. And so some people are particularly just drumming, and then the ladies are dancing. And something unique about our dances, mainly for my tribe, every dance has a different meaning. So dancing was not just done for entertainment, it was done with purpose. Usually during the harvest, when the different communities have come together and harvested, and there's a lot of food in the community, there was a particular way people used to dance. You know, when it was during the time of courtship, when young girls are looking for men and vice versa, there's a particular dance they used to showcase, and a different way they would play the drums. When the king is coming into your area, there's a different drum you play. Actually, there are a chain of drums basically for the king, which are sounded whenever the king is in the area. You know, and luckily for us to still have our king. He's more ceremonial than political, but he's around and he's very influential to the people. So these dances are very different. And then some tribes have dances where they put up their hands and just swing their hands around. There are those that dance while jumping, and there are those that definitely just shake their waists. And then there are those that dance while shaking their shoulders, like you said. So different tribes have different dances, and every dance has a different meaning attached to it. So they are very beautiful experiences to see.
Got you. What's some I'm interested in the food too. I don't want to skip that.
Yes,
What's some traditional Ugandan dishes that people should try whenever they're in your country?
yes, 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 yes. So the foods. Like I said, we have 50 something tribes, 56, and every tribe has a different food. But one thing that stands out, Uganda is the food basket of Africa. Uganda is the only country you're going to visit. No matter what time you come, January or December, we have fresh fruits and vegetables throughout the year. I want that just to sink in. Before we even go to the local cuisine of every tribe, we have fresh, organic fruits and vegetables throughout the year. I didn't know how big of a deal this was until I traveled to my neighboring countries and countries within Africa that hardly have most of these fruits and vegetables. And then when it comes to food, Uganda is the only country you're going to go to where they serve sauce and all foods. I'm going
Mm.
to explain this in a bit, where they say maybe if you're having goat curry with all foods. So all foods has a bit of matoke, which is banana. Then there is cassava, there is sweet potato, there's Irish potato, there is pumpkin, there is yam, all on one plate. And sometimes there are some little greens and some chapati and some spaghetti, all on one plate, plus your curry. So it could be goat, it could be chicken, it could be fish, it could be pested mushrooms, pested meat, pested fish, pested okra, which they call bo and marakwa. It could be millet bread. Millet bread is almost like posho or atampo called pla or ugali, but it's a brown one.
Mm.
And then there's also the white one. So we have all those foods on one plate. And this is a normal way of serving food in Uganda.
My mouth watering just thinking about it. I grew up on eating greens, like I said, collard greens, okra, oh my God, yams, I grew up on that. Oh my God. Now you got me hungry. Now you got me hungry. So shifting gears, you talked about the seasons. Is it any like particular season like people should, year round is fine, but is it any like particular season people should come,
For
like a
Uganda,
special season?
for Uganda, we don't have a special season because even our weather is constant. Uganda is the only country I have been to in Africa where I don't need AC in my car, because it's
Mm.
cool. Like the temperatures are very cool. Like if it's very hot, it's maybe like 30 degrees. If it's very cold, it's like maybe 18 degrees, and that's when it's very, very, very cold. And it can't be that cold or that hot for like a long period of time. It can be maybe for 1 or 2 hours, then it will go back to the normal 25, 26 degrees. So that weather is amazing throughout the year. But some other countries, of course, they have better times. Like now, if you're going to the south side, that is Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, usually it's more advisable to go during May, June, July, around there.
Mm.
If you're going to Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, because from November, December, January, February, it's a rainy season. So some of the activities become tricky to do because of the weather in those countries, you know? Yeah. But then also with Kenya and Tanzania, it's open throughout the year apart from March and April. Those are a bit of low seasons for them, but the rest of the year is practically active for tourism.
Gotcha. The reason why I'm still on your country is because I feel like when it comes to East Africa, Kenya has been getting a lot of love lately. Tanzania has been getting a lot of love lately. And that's why I'm spending more time on your country, because, people say, yeah, I'm going to Kenya, I'm going to Nairobi, and now Tanzania is starting to be a thing now. Right. And
Yes,
that's I'm just telling you, that's the reason why I want to stay. I'm staying on Uganda for a while because, I feel like it's important for people to know, like, don't pass up Uganda. Right. You
yeah,
you can you can
definitely.
have a great time in Uganda. A great
Yeah,
time.
and there's even so much more. So we have a lot of adventure activities. We have a place called Lake Bunyonyi, where we believe that one of the scenes from Wakanda, the inspiration came from there. It's a very beautiful lake. It's called Lake Bunyonyi. I hope you can Google and look at it. It has some of the very scenic views. And I also believe Uganda can be a very good spot for wellness tours. And our culture is one thing that I feel we can sell out the most because it's one of our unique selling propositions. Our culture and our food. Because you won't find this in any neighboring countries. You won't find this in Kenya or Tanzania. The cultures that we have and the food, like we're so next to each other, but our cuisines are so different. Our cultures are so different. Our weather is so different. I feel Uganda is a hidden gem with so much to offer. That someone, even if they're traveling, yes, let's say to Kenya or Tanzania, they should definitely add at least 3, 4 days for Uganda because there is so much more away from safari, away from the gorilla tracking. Even though we have a lot of that, we have a lot more to offer, even in the historical aspect, in the cultural aspect, in the cuisines, in the lifestyle, going to craft markets, people going to visit, all these different societies, like going downtown in the markets to see how does the normal Ugandan live like, people going to climb mountains, people who like hiking. There is so much to offer in this beautiful country that sometimes we don't even talk about the things that we have.
Right. I'm very interested. This question might get you off guard, and I'll tell you why I'm asking it. What role do elders play in your community?
What role do elders play?
Yeah, elders play in your community.
Okay. Oh, that's a beautiful question. It's not actually bad. Yeah, because we've been emphasizing sustainability in the tourism industry, we've realized that the elders are banks of wisdom. They have a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And while we are promoting culture tourism, we actually go back to our elders and ask them, why did you cook this food this way? And the elders share. So most of the cultural villages you're going to go to, most of the community experiences you're going to go to have been guided or even set up by the elders. And some you'll even find really old people who are sharing these experiences with us. Because most of us young people might not have grown up in that way of life, might not have experienced these things. But as we talk to our elders, them being the banks of knowledge, of history, of culture, they take that opportunity and just feed us with all this information, which helps us preserve our culture. And this is also something beautiful about tourism, because the more we have people who are loving to travel into the country for cultural experiences, for immersions, for authentic encounters, it also helps us preserve and also celebrate and love our culture the more. So the elders come in that aspect to feed us with the knowledge and the wisdom, which we can then package in the different tourism culture products that we have.
Got you. And when it comes to like accommodations, let's say I just landed in Uganda, what are some neighborhoods or what are some, I guess, areas within Uganda or some major cities that I should consider going to? And I think it's one. I don't know if it's a city or if it's a community, but is it? I'm probably gonna destroy the name, y'all. She gonna correct me. Is it Kampala? Kampala?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, that's our capital city. But by the way, Uganda is a developed country, you know. So we have 5-star hotels, 6-star hotels in and around the country, not only in Kampala, because we have tourism all over the country, in all the different districts of the country. It's easy to find a decent hotel, you know, ranging from roughly $50, $100, 200, depending on the class you're looking for. But if when you land into the country, you're landing through our airport, Entebbe Airport, there's over 200 hotels just in Entebbe that range between $50 and $500, even more. So depending on what you want, we also have Airbnbs scattered around the country. So just using your app and looking at Airbnbs, you can easily find a beautiful location. But hotels are easy to find in Kampala, in Entebbe. If you've just come into the country, the nearest would be Entebbe because that's where our airport is. But then Kampala is roughly 30 minutes to 1 hour away from the airport if you're using the express highway. And this also provides really nice hotels at fair prices. You can get a 5-star hotel at $200, a 5-star. So, and the price goes lower as the stars also go lower, but the service still remains really fair, good enough. Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow. That leads me to my next point. I'm glad you brought up about interstates, highways, guys. And I'm speaking for the diaspora that's not in the African continent. We have grown up, and I'll just share mine, right? So like before I started to open my mind and I started to travel, I started to explore. Mostly all the commercials that you would see, the propaganda that you would see, in my country, in America, is they would just show children hungry, and that's it, and that's Africa. That's all they would show, or they would show a area of which obviously every country has had groups within the country that would press against political figures.
Yes.
But in my country, that's the only thing that they would show about Africa. Like that's the
Yeah.
only thing.
I understand. I understand. That's what they show us. And just the same way in our country, they only show us the good side of the US. They don't show us the school shootings. They don't show us the homeless people. They show us only the good, you know. Yeah. So
Mhm.
it's understandable. I think it's a marketing strategy, and that's one of the reasons why I look out to be hosted on as many podcasts as I can to share the information, because if the marketing strategies, the marketing companies are doing this, let me do something as a tour operator to change the narrative. What the best I can, because I can't fight the corporations, I can't fight all these agencies. The system has been developed like this for a reason, for a while. So things don't happen by mistake. But what can I do to change the narrative? And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. And that leads me to my next point is like, so like, okay, like besides your country, let's get into some other destinations. Being be you could just talk about East Africa if you want and dive into those countries. But what have been some of your, besides your country, Uganda, what has been some of your favorite countries that you visited within your continent?
I've visited and done work in Rwanda, in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Botswana. So those are the countries that I'm familiar with. So with Rwanda, I love the security and the order. It's very organized and very safe, very organized, like scary organized, like it's very organized. Security is good. Yeah, and clean. The city is very clean, because even when you're entering through the airport or through the bus, whichever route you're using to get into their country, polythene bags, like plastic bags, single-use plastics, are not allowed to enter into their country. Like whether you're in the airport or where you literally have to remove them. And this has been going on for over 10, 15 years, more than that. So they have really preserved that trend, and it's a beautiful country. Tanzania is great. It's big on safaris, really big on safaris. It's a Swahili speaking country, so some people might have challenges with the language because it's predominantly Swahili. You'll get some people speaking English, but not that many. It's predominantly Swahili, but you can still get service and your way around. Kenya is also good. They have the English, they have the safaris. Yeah, it's an okay destination. They have good coastal experiences. That is Kenya and Tanzania. Tanzania, Zanzibar is beautiful for the coast. But I've seen some people complaining about Zanzibar because they feel it's like, what, catfishing. Someone said that, but I feel
Yeah,
it's just a merge of the authentic Zanzibarian with the luxury hotels, the luxury villas. They don't want to hide the people, so you're going to pass through the town and find people living in their way of life. But that doesn't stop the investors from putting up a really luxury resort and putting up something 7-star quality. So I feel some people just misunderstand maybe if they see the luxury resort, so there is no room for this other person, but this is their country. The investor came, yes, he put up his property, but this other person, even though they are not wealthy, they deserve to be there, to have their house there, to have their children going to school. So when I see people, saying that it's not what you see online, I feel it's just a failure to understand that we're having coexistence of these different communities. Yeah, that's what I can say about that because I've seen a few people complaining, but I think it's a beautiful destination. Yeah. Then
I think I could speak to a lot of different people is that to go to countries where people look like you and you no longer the minority, or the majority, that means so much to me.
it,
I think it's very important, like to see black people on billboards, to see black people on money, on currency. I mean, that's just something that as a person that's not born and within the continent, it's something that truly amazes me, and it brings a smile to my face just thinking about it. Like, and that's absolutely amazing within itself as the reasons why people should go. So let's shift gears for a second. Let's get into your business. For individuals that want to travel to Uganda and travel to these other places that you mentioned, what are some type of tours? And I know you normally base the experience based on the client, but could you just give me just a quick synopsis of your business, the type of services that you provide to people that want to travel to that area of of the continent, and the experiences that you can curate for that particular client?
Okay, thank you. Like you've said, depending on the client's interests, we develop wellness packages. That's something we're really big on. We develop group packages, we develop private packages. So group packages, this is where we have 15 to 30 people or 20, where sometimes groups of people come together and do cost sharing, and then we design an itinerary for them. So some of the trips that we create or activities, they usually like, depending on the client's interest, still, they can be 7 days, they can be 14 days, and they can be across different countries. So some people can say, I want to do Tanzania and Uganda. I want to do Kenya and Uganda. I want to do Uganda only. So we develop those packages for them. I feel one of our biggest sellers has been the group trips where people come together as a group and they're like, okay, we are a group of 12. We want to do a trip in and around Uganda, maybe do a bit of Tanzania, do Zanzibar, and then also do something in Uganda as well. We arrange those kind of trips as well. And the beauty with the group trips is they're cheaper because you're doing a lot of cost sharing, with a
Mm-hmm.
group.
Gotcha.
So the price of a group trip would be way cheaper than the price of maybe a private trip of 2 people or 3 people or 4 people. So that's why I think a number of people do the group trips. But then we also do the wellness trips where most safaris that have been developed are back to back. Like you get up in the morning, you go for an early morning safari, you come back, you have your lunch or your breakfast, then you go back to the for again drive. You come back, you go to the community. So you find sometimes tourists are coming into the continent for a vacation, but at the end of the vacation, they need another vacation from the vacation, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we develop wellness packages where you come, you have days for meditation, yoga, journaling, while we put in a bit of safari as well. So we have like maybe a 10-day wellness safari where you have 3 days broken down in between all those 10 days where you just do yoga, you go to the spa, you relax, you do yoga, you meditate, as well as also doing the safaris along that. So this helps you go back to your country rejuvenated, relaxed, and refreshed. And sometimes this journaling we do is guided journaling, whereby we can help. It's mainly for women groups, where it helps them rediscover themselves. So you come and you're in this beautiful resort, in this beautiful destination with an amazing view, and you're just in a group with some women and you're just journaling. talking about your life, sharing your experiences. So we provide those personalized experiences that provide a wellness, holistic experience. Then we provide culture packages where you come and we take you for city tours, we take you for culinary classes, we take you through the history of the kings, we take you to the king's palace, the king's parliament, we take you to all these places that have a lot of culture. We take you to other tribes where you go and see where people keep cattle, you milk the cattle, you see how they make ghee or what you call cheese. You have all these authentic foods, you're staying at the farm, you wake up in the morning, maybe you go for fishing, maybe you take the cows to graze and you're drinking milk straight out of the cows like others, like literally do the milk. Like you wake up in the morning with a cup, you go to the cow and do the milking. So you have that whole beautiful experience. You go to the beehives, you pick honey, you make some cookies, or you just have it on your bread. Yeah, so there are different experiences that we can create based on the client's interests. But we have seen also a growing trend of people liking to come and go to different countries. Someone will come and say, because it's expensive to come to Africa, it makes more sense if I do Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, or I do Uganda,
Mhm.
Tanzania, blended packages, which also is really good because I know it's really expensive to come mainly from the US. The air tickets are quite high. And it only makes sense once you come to explore and expound on all that you can do
Yep.
within a particular destination. Yeah, so we also organize that very smoothly. So that someone comes, they say either they want to start from Uganda, end with Zanzibar, then fly back home. We do all the ground handling in that regard. Yeah, and then we
Okay.
also do our trips depending on the client's class. If the client wants luxury services, we provide that, mid-range or budget. Yeah, so that also guides us on the kind of experiences they do. Yeah, luxury, mid-range, and budget or lower mid-range. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Y'all heard it here first, and her information is going to be in the show notes, guys, so y'all can check that out. And I'm also going to give her an opportunity to blast out all our social handles. I do have one more question, though. For somebody that's on the fence, that their family hasn't really explored, or maybe they don't come from the best background or a good background, and they want to start exploring and they want to get out there and travel and they want to travel to Africa, but they're on the fence. What could you tell that person right now to motivate them to hop on that plane right now and fly to one of these beautiful African countries?
It's simple. Just do research about Africa, particularly put in your search engine travel within Africa or trips around Africa. So many people have traveled, and this can help you remove the fear. It can help you remove the fear because I know most people fear to come to Africa because they don't have information. But if you just Google, you go on YouTube, you go on Instagram, there's so many people right now who have made it their life's purpose to just promote the beauties of Africa, the travels within Africa. So doing that can help boost your confidence of, okay, maybe Africa should be my destination. Then also it's important to have your personal interests at the back of your mind. What do I want to experience? What do I want to see? What do I want to get out of this trip? Because that will also help you to know where to go. Do you want to go to Victoria Falls? Because Victoria Falls has a lot of adventure. You're going to do helicopter rides, you're going to do zip lining, you're going to do bungee jumping, you know, all these things just in the Victoria Falls region. Then you're going to see big herds of elephants and all these things in these particular countries. Do you want to do more culture experiences? So once you know exactly what you want, this can guide you on which country you're going to narrow down on, or which group of countries. you know. I always said group of countries because it is quite expensive to come to Africa. So once you can do two, three countries at once, it makes the whole experience, I think, more fulfilling. And then lastly, it's important to consult with someone. If you want to come to Africa, get any travel operator who is based in Africa. talk with them, understand exactly what's needed. Even if you want to come to Africa as a solo traveler and you don't need any guidance from anyone, at least get a consultation from a tour operator to give you a few tips on what you need. Like if you get to the airport, where do you get transportation? Because unlike in most European countries and in the US, when you get to our airports, you don't have like a train somewhere or a bus that you can jump on and then you go to Kampala and then you go here. It's not like that. So it would be good for you, even if you're a solo traveler or someone who wants to have an independent experience, to have someone who can hold your hand at least the first 1, 2 days. This will give you more confidence. It will make you know the ins and outs of that particular destination and also ease your whole travel experience. It doesn't have to be
Mm-hmm.
hard. It doesn't have to be rocket science. Information is out there, a lot of it. So just take a few minutes to research more, and this will boost your confidence. It will show you which steps you have to take, who you have to talk to, which vaccines you have to take for different countries, because we also have that. Some countries have vaccine restrictions, you know. So it will just give you all this information, and with information, everything is made easy.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. But I want to take this time out to tell you, I truly appreciate you for coming on. I look forward to our collaboration and our partnership on many different projects in the future. I do look forward to working with you. It's something that I want to tell you offline. I'm gonna wait till we get off. But I just want you to know you family, man. You family, and I really do appreciate you coming on. But I also want to take this time out for you to share anything that you want to share, your business, your social handles. How can we follow you and how can we support you?
Okay, thank you. Lastly, I'd like to thank everyone who has come this far in the podcast. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you get a chance to travel in and around Africa. I hope it's a fulfilling experience for you. And if you want to know more information, you have questions, you just need guidance, reach out to me on my Instagram handle or on my WhatsApp or on my email, which are going to be shared in the link. My WhatsApp number is easy, but it's also going to be shared because I also believe in having a smooth communication channel with people that you want to work with. So I'm sure WhatsApp will be easy to use. Instagram, my personal handle will work, and even my email, which will be shared. So that in case you have more information, even on my personal page, on my Instagram page, you can find my email or you can send me an email in case you have questions, in case you need guidance. I'm just willing to provide as much information as you need to ensure that your experience in and around Africa is made easy. Yes.
All
Thank you.
right. All right. Well, I thank you. I thank you for having you on again. And y'all know my motto. I'll see you at the top because the bottom is just too crowded. Peace. Have a good one, y'all.
I'll see you at the top.